Today, I'm going to share with you a step-by-step guide to help get you the right agent or manager so that you can start auditioning for and booking the roles that are right for you. Hey guys, my name is Hans Christopher. I am an actor, coach, and creator of the Working Actor series. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And if you'd like the agent guide that goes along with this lesson, feel free to download it at the link below. With that, let's dive in. So today, in saying that, today's lesson, thank you guys so much for showing up. Today's lesson is how to get to your first agent or manager, or basically the process of going through to make sure you get talent or a team in place that it aligns with who you are and what you are. You're going to see, as everything in these lessons, there's overlaps. The reason why I focus so much on creating the foundation, finding your essence, finding your superpower is because it bleeds into every single thing we do. And you'll see how it comes into play here. So the first thing, I'm just going to go through step by step of this, of things you can do depending on whatever level you are at. So the first thing you've got to do is you got to make sure your materials are on point, right? And that means you might not be at a level where you have real footage yet, right? We'll just go through the things the bare minimum you need in order to represent yourself and pitch. This is what I think, or what I believe. I would not start pitching yourself until you at least have 2 headshots that represent your essence, that speak to those characteristics in you that make you special, that make you different, that make you stand out, that make you unique. Your goal with these headshots is, the headshots are the window into everything else. The headshots are the snapshot that they see that's going to cause them to be like, oh, maybe I'll look into this guy. Maybe I'll read into this. Maybe I want to hear from her. It's going to cause them to kind of take that next step. Well, the first thing is you're going to have your subject line, but the headshot is going to be that thing that makes them lean in or not. So you got to have 2 headshots that represent your essence. And you know what? Even if you don't have any money, I would rather you get headshots that are true and speak to you, and you had a friend take them, and you found a garage with some light. There you can go on YouTube and look how to take up some pictures, even with your iPhone, that end up looking somewhat professional. I've used iPhone pictures for things I've submitted on because I didn't have any pictures that represented that. Last year and a half ago, I had to shave my head. And I didn't have any pictures of a shaved head, so I went and took a portrait shot in a few different locations, blurred the background, and it ended up actually working and looking good. Now, the roles that I could go out for with a shaved head the pool is much smaller, but I had to have some stuff that represented that, and I had no problem doing that with photos off my phone. Now, that's ultimately not what you're going to want to use eventually, but to start the process, you want to get 2 shots at least that represent your essence, right? And then what you need after that is you need 2 high-quality audition tapes that you're going to use that align with those 2 headshots, right? We put in the work to find those superpowers, to start digging at your essence, what makes you unique, what makes you special. You put those into your headshots. The next step is you now need to put those into your audition tapes. We need to get at least 2, and I would say 2, audition tapes that showcase you at your best in that light of those headshots. You want to make it really easy for that manager or agent to look at your material and say, oh, I know the world that they live in. I know what that is, and it fits their headshot. I can sell that, because remember, you are a product. You are what they're pitching. You are what they're selling. You want to make sure that they see immediately what it is that you're selling. So You've got to get 2 audition tapes that are strong, that showcase your talent. This is one of the reasons why I suggest doing the 100 tape challenge, is because at the end of the 100 tape challenge, you're going to get really good at putting yourself up on tape. You're going to get really comfortable with just jumping up and playing and trying different things out. And you will probably find that in your exploring and in your playing, you have a few tapes that you really like, that did some things that were really cool. That's going to be what you start with, right? So from there, you're going to create, you got to have after that, or after you have your 2 tapes and you have your 2 headshots, this is the bare minimum that you need. You're then going to make sure you have your Actors Access profile set up. You're going to have a resume set up, and I'll be honest with you, I made stuff up when I first started, so I just had a few things on there. You're going to put plays that you were in, if you were in plays. If you don't want to make something up, go shoot something with your friend on an iPhone just so you can call it something, write a couple pages, just so you can feel like, okay, this is actually something that I shot, and put it on your resume. You just want to have some base things to say that there's something to start with. That's how most actors start their resumes off, and that's was no different with me. So you want to make sure that your actor's access is in alignment, just like the headshots are, with everything else. And I would also say, even if you don't have a single credit on IMDb yet, you still want to set your IMDb up to start going in the direction that aligns with those headshots, that aligns with that essence. There's ways you can go about putting pictures up there from films, from shooting, from things that end up giving that little bit of an essence of the direction you want to go as an artist, as an actor. Maybe it changes something by 0.05%, but if we continue to do things like that, after a couple years, that essence is going to come out when you type your name in and go on Google and pictures come up. One of the cool tips or tricks is that when you put pictures up on IMDb, it ends up ranking on Google. Your goal, the way you want to think about things is, casting types in your name, a producer types in your name. What are the first pictures that are going to come up? That's the way you get that is you put pictures up on your social media accounts, you put pictures up on LinkedIn, you put pictures up on IMDb, and you put that's what we have complete control of and what we can do now. So that's something that I would say next, after you've gotten your headshots, after you've gotten those audition tapes, and you have aligned your profile so it looks like you know what you're doing. I would suggest before getting in with a rep, of course, you start submitting yourself on Actors Access. Start to get familiar with the process, start to get familiar with breakdowns, what it looks like to get an audition, what it feels like to put yourself on tape. Hopefully, if you're doing the 100 Tapes Challenge, you guys are working with each other, if you have an accountability group, to be able to go through this process so you become more familiar with it. You don't want to get an agent, or even, I wouldn't suggest trying to get an agent if you haven't started auditioning and submitting yourself yet, to understand the process at least. Now, those are the three things, the baseline things you need before you can start submitting. Now, if you do not have a credit, if you do not have footage, if you do not have a reel, it doesn't mean you can't get a rep. It doesn't mean you can't get an agent. I've seen people who have actually gotten really, really good reps, but you have to be really good in these other parts that we're going to talk about in order for them to take you on board. And what does that look like? Sometimes it's just you have a very unique or interesting look. Sometimes it's you fit something that's shooting that they don't have a very large talent pool of. Sometimes you can get in the door that way. But for the most part, it's these other parts that are going to catch you up and make them look at you in a way of, oh, this person is somebody who I can get behind. They may not have it yet, but I can see how they're going to get it if they keep doing this going forward. Now, if you've been doing this for a while, if you do have real footage, if you do have footage from projects, I would say the next step is, and this is only going to help you in how you get representation, but let me say this first, is if you have real footage or footage from a project that you worked on, it doesn't necessarily make it better than your audition tape. In fact, if you're doing your audition tape properly, which is you're making it look as if it was an audition that you put up for a show, so you want your audition tapes to be as if they were pulled for something recent, as if you were just submitted for the project, and as if something you may have been called back for it, you may have been called in for it. That's the feeling you want to get out, because agents and managers are very, very familiar with the process of watching self-tapes. And a self-tape to them, if you know what you're doing with a self-tape and you put something in front of them that looks like what professional actors are submitting in their self-tapes, you're going to make them automatically think that you're in the game, you understand what's going on, you know how to work, it's not going to be a problem. The second they send you a tape, you're going to be able to get it back. That's the goal with those audition tapes. And many, many times, I think the audition tapes are stronger than the footage that you get. I'm a perfect example of this. I spent probably around $5,000 shooting 2 separate reels, four scenes, 2 separate times. And I didn't end up using any of the footage. I may have used it for like 3 or 4 months, but it was an absolute total waste of money. I learned a lot from it, so I guess it wasn't an absolute waste. But when it came to getting footage to use, to pitch, it did not showcase me in the best light. Some of it wasn't lit right, some of the sound was bad, and it just didn't, it wasn't worth the money that I put in to do that. So you really want to make sure those audition tapes are good and strong, and that's something you can do at home. Now, if you do start to get real footage, it's going to follow along the same lines that we've talked with everything else. We want that footage to represent what we've created with your superpowers, your essence, in your headshots, in the way you are, in your audition footage. You want those things to align so it becomes crystal clear how they're going to represent you. This doesn't mean that that's the only thing you can do, but because we put so much work into you being able to do this thing, this version of you, the superpowers, we want to make sure they know exactly what you are and how you can slot and fit into those roles. And then also what I would do, once you figured these things out, and this is actually before you start working with the real footage, is you create that castability sheet from the headshots you have. If it's only 2 shots, great, let's do those. And what you're going to do is work backwards. You're going to do some research and some homework. What worlds do you fit in? And what I mean by that are, what are the shows that you're right for? What are the shows that this headshot, that this person will be cast in? Start finding some of those shows. Start finding some of those actors who represent those worlds. What I would do is I'd make a list of 10 actors that you liken yourself to. Actors who are maybe 3, 4, 5 years down the road from you, who are doing maybe series regulars or guest stars on shows that you know you're right for, shows that you want to be in, and start working backwards. You can even do this for headshots, and this is a great way to get looks for headshots, is find those actors that are doing it, that shows that you want, and then find some of the outfits that they're wearing and kind of use that as a pin to get your outfit for the headshot, your color scheme, the vibe you want, and everything. Now that said, you're going to use that information, the shows, and you want shows that are kind of current or recent, those actors that are familiar, that agents, managers, casting would know of, and you're going to want to put that into your castability sheet, right? If you guys saw the example that I used for my castability sheet, you want to do shows that are current, shows that are running. I think some of the ones that I used in that were Walking Dead, which I ended up booking, Animal Kingdom, which I ended up booking. These are all shows that were on my castability sheet to make sure my reps were aligned or understood that I knew had the vision of where I wanted to go. This to me would be a huge benefit if I'm putting myself in the shoes of casting or in the shoes of a manager or an agent, and an actor comes to me and has this castability sheet with these pictures, and the pictures have to be aligned with this stuff. The pictures the essence has to exude through these pictures. So it doesn't mean that any picture that you put a breakdown next to is going to be right. But the goal is, you want, if they click that castability sheet, you want the manager or agent to look at it and say, yes, I see that. Okay. I definitely see them like that. Because their mind is going to start going like this show, and I could pitch them like this, and I could do that there. They'd be good for this. I just saw this breakdown for this. That's what you want them to do. You want them to automatically start connecting those dots. You don't want them connecting the dots of like, well, they don't look like they know what they're doing. Am I going to have to explain stuff to them? The more you can look like you're in this game, you're a professional, you can hit the ground running, the easier it's going to be for you, the easier it's going to be for them to sign you, ultimately. And so I would definitely get a castability sheet going, especially if you don't have real footage and you're just working off audition tapes and headshots. I think that would be a huge benefit for you to let them know you're serious about this and you have an understanding of where you want to go in the future. Now, that said, next thing, I already talked about the real footage. You want that the same way, aligned with your materials or aligned with your essence, your truth. Very, very important that this footage looks as if it were plucked out of a show. It doesn't have to be plucked out of a show. Many of the things that I used in my reel for a long time were from AFI, from a student film. But because of the way they shot, it was very cinematic. Some of the scenes looked really well lit, really well shot. Some of them didn't. But some of them looked like they were plucked out of a movie, a feature film. And because they're training to do that at that school and many of the other schools, if you're in LA, Chapman, USC, especially the upper division projects, can look really, really amazing. Your goal is to get 15 to 30, 40 seconds that looks like it's been plucked out of a show. And then you're starting to get some stuff that you can work with. I would not suggest, just because you have a show that you work or stuff that you worked on, and I'm even talking about big shows, it doesn't necessarily help you to just put footage in for footage sake. You would rather that person see you in the light of a really strong audition than a co-star where you didn't say much, but it was just in this show that booked, right? Allow your resume, and then there's another part of this, allow your EPK to speak for you in that capacity. But you want them to see your best talent, your best work possible, and if that's your audition tape, make it your audition tape. So the next step is your reel footage. You don't need more than a couple minutes for your reel footage. Most people don't watch. Most people don't even click. Most people, it's a snapshot. This person sounds like somebody I like. What have they done? Who are they? Oh, they're kind of funny. I like them. I like their look. Then they'll click on the reel. Then they'll look at it, and a lot of times they'll know quickly in the first tape. So you don't need a long reel to showcase all this range and these different things. Your goal isn't to make them be like, I can play all these things. Your goal is to let them know, I'm very good at this particular thing. This is the product that you can sell. And other things will come off of that for sure. So the next step, I would say, in your materials, if you have this, is if you do have shows, say you have some co-stars, say you have some things you've shot with other actors, big actors, names that you didn't have a lot of lines in, or it didn't showcase you very well, you didn't want to put it in your reel because it didn't showcase you, you create an EPK. Now you can go and rent or hire somebody to do an EPK for you. They can be pricey, or you can go to Canva and do your own. You're going to have to do some work and learning how to do it through YouTube. But again, YouTube is your friend on all these things. This is how I learned so many of these business side things. But what you're going to be able to do with this EPK, and this isn't an EPK, EPK is short for electronic press kit. But what this EPK is for you and for what it represents is a quick snapshot into you working, right? You get a cover picture, your name. If you have rep, you put the rep on there. If this is 4 reps, this is just a showcase, a quick snapshot. The next page, previous work you've done. This, pictures from different projects you've done, 911, Waco, these things. And then a little breakdown of each one. And then on the next page, if you have upcoming projects or things you've done, you're able to do that. So it's just a way to showcase you in a quick snapshot that makes them go, oh, wow, this person's doing some stuff. Now, this is advanced. This is, if you're starting out in acting, this is going to take a few years for you to get to a place where you can create an EPK, but it is good for you to start thinking about this now, because for too long, I would book a show, but I didn't have lines, or I didn't do enough, or they didn't showcase me enough, and I didn't want to put it in footage. But now this is a way you can take that snapshot and stick it in there to give you a little bit of value in this EPK, and then you have a biography, and then you'll have, a little like thank you page or exit page of how they can contact you. And my EPK actually booked me a movie. Now, it wasn't the only thing. I was prepared for a lot of other things, but because I had a relationship with somebody who said, oh, I saw you in Animal Kingdom. I think you would be great for this other role. Could you pass along your materials? Boom, I sent over my EPK instead of a headshot and a resume, which is, it's not bad to do that, but it's just not the next level. I want to be seen as kind of the professional. Sent over the EPK, and they were like, oh, wow, this is amazing. It immediately got me a meeting with the director. He immediately sent me over some sides, but the way they viewed me was as at a plus. I wasn't viewed as a deficit where they were just going through tapes. because of the EPK, because of some of the stuff I had done, I was able to use that to open the door into that project and be seen in a different way. So that's kind of the goal of where you want to get to after a few years. And that kind of is a representation of the materials. Now, with each one of those things, I can go back still now to the very beginning and look at these and say, where can I improve my thing? Can I improve some audition tapes? What do I not have in my audition tapes? What's my best audition tape I have? Can I improve that? Can I improve my reel footage? Can I improve each one of these things? My headshots can be. I go through the same process where I rate them and look at the weakest thing and see how I can improve that. I just think that philosophy is such an amazing concept to use as you go along with this. So that's the first part. That is the materials. The second part that you're going to want to go into that's really important, and it's going to take a long time to learn, is that your email pitch has to be on point. Now, it doesn't matter if you're starting out and you only have, the 2 headshots, some audition footage, a small resume, and maybe the castability sheet. This is your opportunity to catch up and make them want to look at you. So you've got to spend some time in learning how to craft an email. And I've done it. I do 3 different types of emails depending on the situation. But you've got to learn how to craft an email that's going to get their attention, that's going to make them see who you are. The same things we talked about with those essences, who you are. And this is your chance to showcase you as the product, but more importantly, you as the person. And it's not easy to do. It is not easy to do, to craft an email that's going to get a click, that's going to make them like you out of these thousands of emails they get, that's going to get their attention enough to lean in, take a meeting, and talk to you. Now, one of the things that I have found with a lot of my students who have been in this game for a little while is once you start getting credits, you start to rely on your credits to pitch you. And that's probably one of the worst things you can do because you end up sounding a little bit robotic. There's no personality in it. I made this mistake myself many times. I booked this big job and these other things, and I wanted to lead with that and showcase that. But it doesn't get you. The first thing you want them to do is kind of like the person that just emailed them. See a person, really. Not see somebody who's just booking. They want to see a person that they can relate to, somebody that's different, somebody that makes them kind of lean in, that makes them interested in some way. And then the caveat or the extra is to see, they've been on these projects, if you have that. If not, you've got to figure out how to craft a pitch email that's going to get their attention. And you've got to answer the question, why should I take you on without any credits? Why should I take you? What makes you different? What makes me want to sign you even though you don't have that? And for each of us, it's different, but this is why finding those unique parts of yourself and being able to work on the business side of it and selling yourself and pitching yourself and that mission statement we talked about yesterday, if that's just coming through you when you talk to somebody, when you speak to somebody, you're going to make them excited. They may not have anything to pitch off of yet, but they're going to trust that you're going to get there somehow. So you've got to find what makes you special, what makes you different, what makes you unique. Are you writing your own material, right? Are you shooting your own short film, your own web series? Are you in plays? What makes you unique? What makes you different? And everyone has something. You could be huge on social media. You could have started up your own, like whatever it is that makes you different. And it doesn't even have to be acting necessarily. You want to just do something that kind of makes them see you as a person. And it's so important. It's such a different skill. One of the things I would say, I don't know if you guys have gotten used to or learned how to use AI or ChatGPT or any of the services, but it's a great process to go through and see different cover letters from actors. You'll see, you just play with it and see what you can do with it. I don't ever say, write me a cover letter and use that cover letter. But what I do is I'll use AI, I'll use ChatGPT to start figuring out and crafting my own cover letter. I use it as an assistant, and I write my own cover letter and I feel like it's a little dull. How could we spice this up? How could we change this? How could we make this more concise? How can we expand on this? I'll just try different things out, and then it'll give me an idea to do something else. But it's a great way to test different things out. And so what I do is with the email pitch, the way you're going to get the emails is I would never go through an agency or a management submission form process. I know that's the way they say to do it, but there's just so many gatekeepers for you to get to the final stage, for you to get in front of the agent. It's just impossible. You've got to get the email of the agent, and the way you can do that is through IMDb if you have IMDb Pro. It might take a little work to figure out what that agent email is. Each one's different. A lot of them are last name dot first initial, then the agency email or the management email. But eventually you'll be able to figure it out. And that code is usually the same for everybody at the agency or everybody at the management company. And what I would do is, first thing I do in my network is I see the actors that I know that are in my network who are represented by people they like. I ask them about their reps. Do they like the team they're with? And I never, ever ask for a referral because in my experience, I don't think referrals work unless it's done a certain way. Referrals can be amazing if done the right way, but if you do a referral the wrong way, it ends up feeling a little like, can you help me? You can have bad blood between you and the person that did it. The way that I do a referral is I'll ask the person about the agency, and if they're my friend, it's somebody I have a relationship with, I then ask them, would it be okay if I use your name? Here's how I would say it. And usually all I say is, hey, certain agency, my name's Hans Christopher, interested in I'm a good friend of this person who had amazing things to say about you guys. And that's it. There's no other time I use their email. I don't have them reach out. Sometimes you'll have somebody who has a really good relationship. They're really good friends with them. And they'll say, no, I'm gonna send your materials along. That's fine. But I've gotten such great results in just doing that's the way that I would always go about doing a referral. And usually no person's going to turn that down because it's not a big deal. Yeah, of course you can say you know me, So that's a great way to use referrals. Then there's another way of just the straight cold email, which you're not going to get as many clicks if you do that, but it's still a process that I use. I would go through, in my process, I went through IMDb, I started at the top 100, and I just started going down and emailing every single one, changing their names, changing little quick things. And out of that, at the time, you could see, what I would do is I'd set if you have footage or you have audition tapes, set it to YouTube somewhere you could see the tracking, because you'll be able to see who's clicked on it and who hasn't, or at least the percentage that is. And then the last one I do is I try a little bit of a targeted email where I've looked into or been following a rep for a while. I know some of the people on their roster, maybe not personally, but people that I look up to as actors who have maybe done what I've done, what I want to do. And I'm maybe 10, 15 years younger. So they have an understanding of the path that I'll be going through. I'll make it a little more specific and talk a little bit about the work and what they've done to make them intrigued, to make them interested in what I have to say, and make them understand that I'm serious about what I'm doing. So that's the way that I use the pitch emails. And now I would also always follow up with whoever I reached out to, maybe even twice. The rule is I'm not that great with this because rejection is not something that's easy for me. It's a process that I still go through. But you want to try and get a no. If you can get a no, then you can cross that person off the list and you go to the next person. Now, saying this, I would never go and reach out to reps and agents if your material isn't right yet. If you're not being honest with yourself where you are, then I wouldn't do that. A way to work on this is great is if you've created that accountability group, you go through and you write it to each other and you ask each other's opinions and you see, does this fit the things that I created for myself? Am I displaying some of my superpowers here? It's just a great way to kind of go over that part of the process. And now the final part of it, the third part of this that is, I think, equally important is, say all of that works. You submit a pitch email or letter to somebody. It turns their head. They have watched your materials or watch your auditions or look at your footage. They're intrigued. They're interested, and they ask to set up a meeting with you. The next step in that is you've got to be good with meetings. I've been lucky, and I think it's because I had so many job interviews, and maybe I'm just more comfortable with the process. But I always felt like that was the part that I excelled in. You get me in a room with somebody, I would be able to win them over. Now it's going to be through Zoom, probably, maybe not, but probably. But you've got to get really good at that interview process. And when I say good, I'm not talking about trying to look like you're a professional actor who, this is much more about you being authentic, being you, and showcasing what you're bringing to the table. This is the part where they want to check out the relationship. They want to see how it's going to be working with you, the artist, and you, the person. They do not want to be in a relationship with an actor who is a pain to work with, who's not going to be showing up, who's just going to be sitting there waiting for auditions. It's just, they do not want to do that. They want to see somebody who is on top of their shit, who has a plan for their future, and who is a part of a process. You want this to be a team, especially at the beginning. One of my favorite quotes from Ethan Hawke is, I don't know if you've been to the website or not, but it is, you can't rely on your representation to lead your career. You have to lead them. And that is what this process is about, is figuring out who you are, what you're going to be going out for, what you're going to be training for, having a very specific, targeted, and focused intention of getting to that place, and then letting them know that this is what you're going to be doing. These are the roles you're going to be going out for. Here's how I plan to reach that next level. Here's here's what I'm going to be doing this next year. Whether it's shooting your own content, whether it's, you've just got to show them that you are going to be somebody who works for them and busts your ass. If you're funny, if you're comedic, let them know about that. You've just got to find those things that make you unique, make you special, and showcase that. And the interview part of it is your chance to showcase and let them know who you are. And more importantly, let them know that the relationship you guys are going to have is going to be a good one that could last for a lifetime. And that doesn't have to have credits. You don't have to have credits. You don't have to have footage to make that relationship. Your goal coming out of the interview is to make them be like, A, I kind of like them, and B, I think I can sell them. I think I can sell what their offer. And it doesn't mean you have to be this charming, amazing person. If you want to be true to yourself, you just don't want to be a dick. You don't want to be hard to work with. And you want to make sure that they're in a situation in the relationship with you where they feel like you guys can work together, and you can set something up. Now, those are the three things that I would do. If you would like, you want a version of one of my emails that I used, email me. You guys all have my email. It's a part of the thing. I email you every day. Email me, and I will email you back as if you are the representation, as if you are the manager or agent. One of the versions of my pitch that I've used in the past. It's not that it's necessarily perfect. I look at all of these and kind of see areas that I could clean it up, but it'll at least give you a reference for how I represented myself, what I did to kind of get in the door. So you can just shoot me an email and I'll send that over to you. It's at Hans at theworkingactor.xyz. So with that said, I'll open it up to your guys' questions. I hope that helped. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and I'll see you next time.